Hello class, Mr. Fino here. This is Unit 5, Lesson 2 on learning world religions. Specifically, we're learning about Hinduism. Here we have a very colorful statue of, I believe that this would be the Hindu god Ganesh, but don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure. So in this lesson, you will learn the origins and beliefs of Hinduism. Hinduism is an old religion. It's a very popular religion throughout India and the world. And, again, here's another very colorful picture of some of the gods of Hinduism. All right, so first let's look at some Hinduism statistics. So Hinduism is the most influential religion in modern India, just meaning India today. It's the most practiced religion there. And it's actually the third largest religion in the world. So you can see here, this is probably in the river Ganges on the left. You can see just the flocks of people just there to worship. And then it being the third largest religion in the world, I believe first would be Christianity, followed by Islam, and then Hinduism. So it's a very popular religion. So where did Hinduism originate? So there's some debate about this. Some scholars believe that the Aryans, who were an Indo-European speaking nomadic people, who probably came in from the north, maybe Turkey and those northern countries in the Middle East, brought their gods and rituals. That's one theory, that this group came in and invaded, honestly, and like you see here, they're on their war chariots and brought their religion with them. The second theory that other scholars have is they think it could have developed within the Indian subcontinent over thousands of years. Just the people within India that have been there for a long time, it just developed over time, and people would have added to it and made it more complex, and that would have happened before the Aryans even came. So here is the Vedas. So the main beliefs of Hinduism come from the Vedas, which is it's a text, it's a book, which consists of verses, hymns, prayers, and teachings in Sanskrit. Sanskrit being an ancient language of India. So before there was a written Sanskrit, the Vedas were passed down orally. So from generation to generation, it was just told through story, right? And so people had to memorize it so they could pass it on to the next generation. And religious priests, also known as Brahmins, interpret the Vedas and perform rituals. So here you can see what Sanskrit looked like on the top with the god there. And then the other pictures here represent the oral tradition, right? Passing it on through words. And then here is a Brahmin, again, probably at the river Ganges, but I'm not certain. Next, we're going to talk about the Varnas. So early Hinduism viewed society as a sum of equal parts, which is interesting to me that it mentions here that it's a sum of equal parts, meaning that each part was equal. But we'll get more into that. So those Varnas consisted of Brahmins at the top, and Brahmins consisted of priests, scholars, and teachers. Below the Brahmins were the Kshatriyas, who were the rulers and the warriors. Below the Kshatriyas were the Vaishyas. These were the merchants, the traders, artisans, and farmers. And below that would be the Shudras, would be the servants and laborers. And I think it's important to note here, as you can see on this graphic of India's caste system, below the Shudras, you've got the Dalits, who were known as, sometimes referred to as untouchables. And these would be the people that do the jobs that no one else wants. Things like street cleaners, disposing of dead bodies of animals and people, that sort of thing. And from the Varnas, more specific jatis or jobs were formed. And that's kind of how the caste system is going to develop. From the Varnas, more jatis were formed, and then you've got this very elaborate system that I believe we'll talk about in the next slide. But here are some pictures of what these groups look like: Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So, as I mentioned, the caste system. Over time, the Varnas and Jatis, right, the Varnas, those four groups, and the Jatis, the jobs within them, became more rigid, and a hierarchy and discrimination became widespread. It's spelled widespread wrong, sorry. Um, so, um, you know, this is a system that it's not technically legal anymore, but, it's still in a lot, and especially rural areas, meaning countryside, it is practiced, and it's groups are really mistreated and not given the same sort of rights. But individuals like Mahatma Gandhi argued that this did not fit with Hindu teachings. He believed that Hinduism did not actually believe that this was how things should be done. Each jati, or again, job or occupation, had its own lifestyle, occupation, customs, traditions, and rules about social interaction. So maybe within your jati, you weren't allowed to talk to or interact with, or definitely marry those within other jatis. And again, at the bottom, you've got people there were people did not want to associate with the lower groups, right? That the Dalits mentioned in the previous slide, or the untouchables. So what are the main ideas about Brahman? So Brahman is the supreme power that exists forever and controls everything. Think of it as the main, largest, and kind of the all-encompassing Hindu god, right? Hindus believe that time moves in a circle, with Brahman, this universal God that controls everything, creating, transforming, and recreating the universe. He just has that power to just create, transform, and recreate it in this cycle. All human souls are a part of Brahman. So each person has a soul, and it's a part of Brahman. It's like drops of water in the ocean. And the many deities of Hinduism are different forms of Brahman. So all the different gods that are worshipped, they're actually just Brahman taking different forms, and they represent different aspects of Brahman. So yeah, pictures here just represent, right? This would be representing Brahman, the all-powerful God that controls everything, right? Everything works in a circle, and people's souls are like a drop of water in the ocean. How do Hindus worship Brahman? How do they worship this god? So early Hinduism had elaborate rites and sacrifices outdoors, but eventually temples were built to honor the different forms of Brahman. So, in different areas, different cities, villages, whatever, they would build temples for specific gods that represent different forms of Brahman. And Hindus engage in all the senses when worshiping Brahman. They would have sounds that they would. Let me just see here so I can be more specific. So, again, they would engage all their senses. So, for example, they would use incense and fragrant flowers for smell. Their eyes would focus on the deity. They'd use bells and prayers for their ears, for hearing. Food after the worshiping, for taste. They would try to engage all of their senses. The deities in Hinduism. Hindus believe that the deities represent different aspects of Brahman, as already mentioned. The three probably most important Hindu gods within Brahman are Brahma, the creator, Shiva, the destroyer, and Vishnu, the preserver. Those gods have their counterparts, their wives, I guess, and those would be Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Shakti. And the ancient texts show how the gods battle evil. So one important Hindu text is the Ramayana, where Rama, the main character, battles the demon king Ravana. And so within this journey, Rama has to overcome things like greed, anger, selfishness, and violence. So it's just teaching lessons, right, within this story. And you can see here's Rama here. In the picture, you've got Shiva, you've got Ganesh, Krishna, Vishnu. And this is Brahma in the centers. Or no, this is Brahma here. Brahma. This would probably be Shiva, and this would be Vishnu, I believe. What is Dharma? Dharma is often described as duty, right? Doing what's expected of you, doing your job. Dharma is a way of life that helps people live happily, selflessly, and in balance. With Dharma, each Varna would be expected to fill a certain role in society. For example, herding animals or trading goods. It's just, your Dharma is that you are going to be doing your job as you should to the best of your ability to make sure that society is running well. Hindus are also expected to follow a common dharma or set of values. These include being truthful, sharing food with others, performing social service, and caring for one's soul. So all good values. And Hindus also believe in nonviolence and respect all life, right? This idea we're going to see of reincarnation, the fact that they believe that, any living creature could be, a human in a past life, that means they really need to respect it, right? They don't want to kill someone that, was once a person, right? That'd be bad for their karma, which you're going to see in the next slide. So yeah, Hindus also believe in nonviolence and respect all life. And the cow is revered because it takes no more than it needs. That's why within Hinduism, the cow is respected. I put this here. I'm not, pig is bacon, bunny is an experiment, elephant is an ornament, because this is just a matter of respecting life. And you can look and see what all these are saying. But yeah, again, Dharma also, other than, this idea of doing their job, just accepting their job. And that's part of that idea kind of keeps the caste system going, right? Because if people accept their job and accept it without wanting to move up, right, that's going to keep people in their place and preserve this system of this rigid social structure. But yeah, again, there's core values within Dharma, which were mentioned here, and nonviolence. What is karma? What is the idea of karma? The law of karma governs what happens to people's souls after death. So karma is the belief that every action has consequences, and those consequences are felt over many lifetimes. So for example, well, first let's just look at this picture, right? This is an example of karma because he's knocking this domino over, right? And it's going to come all the way around and come back to get him, right? So this idea that, let's say someone is a murderer in their current life, well, they're going to accumulate bad karma. And so likely in the next life, they will become a lesser life form. Maybe they'll, become a poorer person, or maybe they'll become an animal of some kind, right? So every action has its consequences. And that goes for positive actions as well. If you live a perfect life, you would move up. And they believe the soul is reborn into a new body depending on one's karma, right? This cycle. It's a cycle. And that takes us to samsara and reincarnation. So samsara is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, right? You were born, you have your life, you die, and then you are reborn, right? As long as people are part of samsara, they will know pain and death. I mean, we all experience negative things in our life. That's part of life, right? So as long as they're in this cycle, they're going to know pain and death. But samsara ends, this cycle ends for Hindus when the soul is rejoined with Brahman, which is known as moksha. So if they live that perfect life and they do what they're supposed to do and they've done what they needed to, moksha will take them to be rejoined with the universal creator, supreme being, Brahman. All right, so here we have some pictures of well, maybe you can see here different lives, right? Being this kind of cool art on the left here. You can see, he has this life, and he's a warrior, and then he's a priest, and he's a woman. He's going all around until eventually he hits this, I'm assuming, is moksha, when he rejoins the Brahma. And here's another cool image showing reincarnation, how it works, right? And I like how it includes animals here, because that is a part of it, right? You can see this guy, right? So, all right. Last few slides here. So how does one end the cycle of reincarnation? So reincarnation, again, is that cycle of being reborn. And according to Hindus, one can end this cycle of samsara by following their dharma, right? Which we already talked about, their duty, and then those values that were mentioned. There are 4 major paths to doing this. First is selfless service, right? Doing your job selflessly, studying the scriptures, right? Studying the Vedas and the other texts, unconditional love for Brahman, their god, and then deep meditation is a part of it as well. So here we see moksha is freedom from life and death, right? This cycle you can see here, and then once they eventually hit moksha, they are rejoined with their universal god, Brahman. All right, we got pilgrimages. So Hinduism has many holy sites. Millions of Hindus from across the world visit the Ganges River each year because it is considered sacred. So there's a picture on the left here. People go to the Ganges and bathe in it, and it's important to their beliefs. And there are also important shrines and temples throughout India representing different gods. This looks like a pretty massive one. Probably most would not be this big. It would be just more minor. But this idea of pilgrimages is important within Hinduism. All right, so wrapping up, in this lesson, you learn the origins and beliefs of Hinduism. Thank you.